Treehouse of Horror 34 is the 5th episode of the 35th season of The Simpsons. This is directed by Rob Oliver, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. In general, it's not the strongest Treehouse of Horror. I would say the first segment, and I'll talk about them all in turn, with spoilers of course. The first segment, I hated. Well, maybe hate's a strong word, I really disliked it. The second segment, actually pretty good, very gory, visually very entertaining, and a really good story. The third one, it was a little bit silly, but actually I didn't mind it. The first one is called Wild Barts Can't Be Token, and the art museum at Springfield is closing and all of the artwork is being digitised. Bart goes into the digitising machine and becomes an NFT. Partly because I've never cared about NFTs as a concept, that part of the story just didn't appeal to me. Marge ends up going inside or becoming digitised, and she goes onto the train and she has to battle all kinds of things. And honestly, as a concept, I found it very, very boring. Maybe if I had any interest in NFTs, I might find it a little bit more fascinating, but I think that's still a bit of a stretch. The only thing I liked about this is Ralph House, because that was genuinely terrifying, and I rather enjoyed the moment with Ralph House. Some people might like this segment because Kylie Jenner voices, well, herself. Doesn't mean anything to me at all, not bothered either way. So I can see the creativity with this one. I think there's a good discussion to be had about fast trends and people putting their money into things like this when it hasn't really had any time to develop properly or to see if there's any lasting benefits of it. So I guess one could have some interesting discussions following this, but as a piece of entertainment, I didn't care for it. The second one, I don't know how to pronounce this. Instinctively, I want to say 8, but also pronouncing it the way it's written, it should be ate it. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm pronouncing this one. But either way, it's apparently a parody of Mindhunter, which means nothing to me. I haven't seen Mindhunter, but that didn't, at least I don't think it affected my enjoyment. It's an alternate reality or an alternate ending to Cape Fear, the episode with Sideshow Bob. And we have Lisa as a criminal profiler as an adult. And I don't want to say too much about the story. I know I said spoilers, but I won't go into a tremendous amount of detail. But she's trying to solve a case with Nelson's help. I really liked Nelson's character in this. He's a cop, and I loved the role he played here. And it gets very gory, very graphic. I rather liked that a lot. I thought it worked very well. The animation was an absolute delight. And I didn't work out what was going on. And once everything was revealed, in hindsight, I could see how everything was very well written. Everything flowed really well. And it was pretty fascinating. I really liked it as a story. As a Kelsey Grammer fan, obviously liked Sideshow Bob in this. So I'd say out of the 3, this is my favourite. It's not a contender for an overall Treehouse of Horror segment favourite, but with regards to these 3, I rather liked it. The third one is called Outbreak, and it starts off with Homer at the power plant chasing after a donut. And I will say, the animation of the donut just before he puts it in his mouth made me feel sick. They did a very good job of making it look revolting. And of course, because the donut had rolled across the floor, it became radioactive. And Homer burps in Ned's face, and Ned turns into Homer. He's still got his personality, but he looks like Homer. And then everybody else in the church looks like Homer, and it's fun. It is really good fun. I could have done with fewer burp noises. Not a fan of burp sounds, but other than that, really good fun. But what I did think was interesting, and maybe they can get away with it because they're not focusing on it, but in one of the previous episodes of this season, Homer pointed out that he no longer strangles Bart because times have changed, which is fair enough. However, when Kirk Van Houten came out of the church, he was strangling Milhouse. It wasn't something they focused on. There were a lot of people pouring out of the church, but I did think it was interesting that a few episodes ago, they basically said, well, we're not doing that now. And then they showed Van Houten strangling Milhouse. Maybe because it's a Treehouse of Horror and it's not exactly friendly to younger viewers anyway, they can get away with it. I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating. And the kids have to try and track down Homer. And because they have his DNA, they're not turning into Homers. And maybe this part of the story was a little weak, but I didn't mind it too much. And the reveal the reveal of Marge, I did find very funny. I'd kind of just forgotten about Marge temporarily, and then they revealed Marge, and it really took me by surprise. So I thought that was pretty good. And then we get to see the worldwide Homers at the end. We get to see countries all over the world with different versions of Homer, and it was fun. It was a silly episode, or segment rather. I do prefer the ones that are gory and graphic and dark and menacing and terrifying, and definitely more of the horror vibe. This one, I mean, in reality, it would be terrifying, but I just thought it was fun. Creative and visually quite entertaining. Definitely my second favourite. Ate It is my top favourite, and Wild Barts Can't Be Token I didn't care for it at all. I'd love to know which one is your favourite if you watch this episode. It's not my favourite Treehouse of Horror, but there are some good moments, and ultimately, it's certainly not the worst.